Hey, so today we are doing Gen AI, and before we do that, we should definitely watch one motivating video about Gen AI. What do you say?
Oh, you mean that one video?
Oh yes, the one we discovered last week.
Yeah.
Let me send you the link. Grab your iPad. Let's watch it. You ready?
Yep.
Yeah. Let's play it. Yeah.
AI, generative AI, generative AI, generative AI, AI as AI. It uses AI to bring AI.
All right. Welcome back to another episode. I'm Sarthak. I'm a software engineer. I work in orchestration, as you might already know by now if you have watched this before. If you haven't, there you go. Let me give a quick second to my colleague here to introduce herself.
I'm Soumya. I'm a engineer too. I mostly work in cloud networking, and you should know that by now.
Yeah, I can't believe I called you colleague.
I know.
just went into the floor and I called you colleague.
Your corporate self is
Yeah.
channeling itself right
I
now.
know, right? Yeah, but this is the sibling projects. We can't call each other colleagues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sister, brother. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So today we discuss Gen AI,
Mhm.
right? And I think this is a topic we wanted to do for so long.
I know.
I mean, we were also debating whether to do it now or do it later.
Yeah.
And now we're finally here. We decided that this is the time we're going to do Gen AI. So before we start off the bat, let me ask you. It's a very overloaded term in this industry right now. So can you just define Gen AI for me? What do you think of it?
So Gen AI as a technology is mostly just tech, machine learning, deep learning, all those big fancy words. But it's just simple math where you tell code to do something and over time it learns something else and it's able to generate things on its own. That's the simplest definition I can put it for a person who is not in tech, right?
Okay.
That code is able to somehow create things on its own based on like whatever patterns and parameters you give it. What do you?
I mean, I think my definition of Gen AI is basically something which will hurt my career, but I'll say it anyways. So I feel it's like a black box, right? You don't really know the exact models they're running. Yeah, of course we know the high level terms of it, but it's a black box which has studied a lot of content that it was given to it, practically the whole internet, and now it is outputting content, predicting based on what it had learned, what can come ahead, and then once you go into the depth of it, you see like so many applications of it. You have chat and whatever, right? So that's what I believe Gen AI is a black box you interact with, and it gives you predictive output, and that output can be in any media.
Yeah.
Right. So again, we are still not done with the overloaded term.
Yeah.
Do you think Gen AI is correctly understood in today's world? Like what is happening right now with multiple companies are coming out with Gen AI releases. We just saw a motivational video by Google which told us how much AI is part of developer conferences this year. So do you think it is the right priority being set by companies, or do you think it is companies going in the wrong direction? I just want to hear everything about that. What do you think about that?
So I do think with the priority basis, I do think that this is the new hot and heavy tech that will revolutionize maybe how we even pursue tech in the first place, right? Because as overloaded as the term is, it is also very powerful, right? We don't fully understand it yet. To answer your question, we know some of its use cases. We know ChatGPT and all those things have done a great job, and they've changed the way we use things, right? But the future of it, I think, to a vast majority is still unknown, and for companies to put their investment there to see how we can leverage AI to solve more and more use cases, enable humans to do more, I think that's the right priority in the world today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of aligned on that. But I also feel that this is not the first time companies have been investing into AI.
Correct.
Before we had seen Siri come out, and we had Alexa, different kind of AI chatbots who used to predict, read, understand what you're saying and try to give an output. And the term has been used widely, right?
Yeah.
Ever since I touched code, I have heard about AI somewhere or the other.
Yeah.
Yes, it has grown. But I think one blog post that I was reading, it was by Kailash Nath. He's the CTO of Zerodha, and he summed it up pretty well. And his blog post was called "This Time It Feels Different."
Yes.
And that I think is definitely there. Do you want to elaborate on the reason why that is so, though?
So I think if I'm not wrong, I think it all started with like that one paper Google put out. It was titled "Attention is All You Need." So that was mostly research based on how we really saw NLP models, right? That really revolutionized the way we understand NLP. So earlier in NLP, you used to do this thing that, okay, you have a lot of data, you have this chain set of data, you would just process it all at once, you would run some data analytics, some ML on it, right? But it used to be slow when you give it like large chunks of data. So they really have a very quirky title to the paper, attention is all you need. But what they came up with was this term called attention for a data set. So basically, you don't have to focus on the whole data, right? You can have multiple threads, you can give weights to your values, and you can have a term called attention, that I can only focus on this part of the data because this is more valuable to me. So even if you have like English language, some words are more important than the others, right? So that really enables a model to do more. And the term I think they used for this sort of modeling was transformer. Yeah, the word they used was transformer, and that is what OpenAI uses today, and Google's AI itself uses that model. So that has really changed the game for Gen AI.
Okay, yeah, that was a lot of tech jargon that you threw. Alright, but I do know the paper you're referring to. I think 2017 paper that really changed, and I always love it when a paper comes out and then like all companies, everyone will be rushing to innovate on top of that. Like it is the moment it is defined, but now in 2023 is when we're actually seeing the actual impact of it, because now we have these GPT-4 models and the new BARD model, which are doing so well, and frankly it's a surprise to me also sometimes. Like I have my own questions about it, about the ethical part of it, or like also mostly around ethical, I guess. But still, the fact that it is still able to do this in the first place is really, really frightening as well as exciting to me.
Yeah, and you really see the impact, right? Like the paper was published in 2017, and I think 2018 was the GPT-3 model that was actually announced to the public that, hey, we're gonna do this. And 5 years later, you see the impact now, how it has like really changed the game.
Yeah, I agree. And I think GPT in itself did a good job of introducing it to the general public. I think once it came out, I remember Reddit blowing up like anything, just trying to interact with it. And people who didn't interact with the earlier version of GPT, they don't know the kind of filters it didn't have. Like it was like a pure AI that people were able to get experiment with it. I think there's a subreddit called as Hall of Fame of ChatGPT, where you have these initial conversations where they were able to make it say really controversial stuff.
Boy, oh boy, you have given people like things to scroll through.
I mean, if you take Reddit and feed it into an AI tool, you expect content like Reddit to come out. Reddit is not really the ideal place for content, right? Like there's a lot of trolls out there who have been who have now trained AI models. So it's an interesting thing, but now they have put a lot of filters on it. But I still feel like it's really, really amazing to see where this is all headed.
Exactly. Like to us, it still feels nascent that this tech is new, but when you think of it, the artificial intelligence, the term has been around for like 30 years at least.
I think it's been more than that. I think the first occurrence I can actually recall from reading books is I think the 1956 society that formed, and it was formed in some college. I cannot recall the college name right now. Maybe I'll write it out in the description. But that was the first society that formed, which actually got funding for AI. And they experimented. I mean, at that time, even computers were very nascent, right? You didn't really have anything. So, but they did manage to get that field going, give it a base. I think they experimented with some image generation initially, not full image generations like you have now. You have Stable Diffusion and Midjourney doing incredible things. But that was more on a basic level. It experimented with 8-bit pictures and all that. But still, that's how long the field has existed. Right?
But this new generation of AI feels nascent, but it also feels like, oh my god, where is the world gonna go from here? So it's all very exciting to talk about.
That's for sure. And let me actually ask you a question on this. So are you using these new models, Gen AI models, anywhere in your daily life right now?
I think I use a bit of like code generators for sure to help me with code I don't want to write. So even though I do have to spend time correcting them, it still helps. The other thing I think has been a really helpful thing has been the text generation. Right, to just paraphrase things, and I was doing my master's along with my job, so it really used to help me write my assignments. Do not tell my professors. But so things like that I think have really been helpful right, to execute things. And image generation, I think it's just like one of my favorite pastimes to do. You just go and you put something in and you just see what it throws out. What about you?
I do use code generator quite a lot. So I think I'm a Java programmer, and if Java is one thing it's famous for, is boilerplate code, right? So you do have to write a lot of boilerplate. Java has been building towards reducing that as much as possible with every release, but still there are like just so many pojos to write, so many holder classes to write, right? So I use code generator for that. The only thing is it's not fully trustable yet.
Yes.
But I'm still able to get some work out of it.
Yeah.
At least get the class going, imports going, so that then I can go ahead and write the real content in it. So code generator has definitely helped me there. It surprisingly did not help me much in unit tests as much as I thought it would.
I know, right?
I remember demos from multiple models. They plan to show, like, if you just write a comment like write a unit test for this class, it'll give you that output, but sadly that did not happen for me.
And you know what, that actually feels like with a lot of Gen AI demos that we've been seeing around, right? I think it's very enticing when you see a demo of things, because to be honest, I feel like getting a demo up and running is much easier than its actual real implication, and when it goes out to the people in the world. And I think that has been true for like a lot of Gen AI tools and just products we've been seeing. Do you agree with that?
I do, but can you just elaborate about it a little bit more? Like,
for example, have you seen this new voice assistant that has come?
GPT-4o model.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I do feel that, in the demo, it feels very, very powerful, but I'm just not sure how useful or how applicable it will be, or how good it will be once it comes to me.
Yeah, I mean, the promise is definitely there,
Yeah.
right? So now that you give an example, I can actually understand what you're referring to.
Yeah.
The promise is definitely there.
Yeah.
If they're able to nail it, great. But again, yeah, as you said, demos can look very exciting when it comes to real life. I think that kind of happened with ChatGPT also for me. The initial demo that I saw, it was supposed to write like essays and everything, but actually the essays, even now that what GPT-4 writes, they need a little bit of your touch, otherwise they sound just too robotic, according to me. So
what if it's better if you upgrade to GPT plus?
I mean, it might be. I did use it a little bit before, but that was not through like a prolonged usage. It was just a trial usage. And I think the GPT-4o model, I heard that OpenAI might actually give it for free, so that more people can get to try it. That also kind of points to the fact that it is now cheaper for them to run these models, because a lot of people, they don't realize that these Gen AI models, they look like you're just interacting with a chatbot, but the compute behind is the reason why Nvidia stock has made millionaires. right? People have become millionaires by buying Nvidia stock, and so that compute is definitely another part of it, and probably we'll go in it later in the episode. But it has definitely become cheaper, and now GPT-4 is coming out to general public. I feel like that might actually bring a new wave of excitement around, because now people will see this upgraded GPT-4 model out in the public. And I mean, if you use GPT-3 and GPT-4, you can see the difference in between them only, right? So again, on these lines only though, I wanted to know, like, can you tell me two exact like any GPT model or any OpenAI model or any BARD that you're using in your life right now? Maybe you can just tell me one for now, and then we can see second.
I think I've been using ChatGPT only the most.
Okay. So ChatGPT, will you recommend it to everyone to like include in their workflows? Because I see a lot of people, they are kind of against Gen AI coming into their productive workflows, like whatever they're doing day to day life. Do you think ChatGPT is there where people should actually be bringing it into their life, modifying their things?
So I would say that it does not solve my problems like 100% of the times, but I would say it's there like at least to like 65 to 70% of the time in my use cases. And what are my use cases, right? I might need to write like some script, or I have to debug a test. Yes, it will give me like buggy code a few times, but it still saves me time to like, maybe just correct like a syntax error or two, rather than writing the whole thing from scratch myself. So that way it helps me. But if I give it like, hey, design this feature for me, it's obviously not going to be able to do that. I still need my still need my own little brain to do that.
So you mentioned image generation. So is it just a creative use for you, or is it more of a productive use also?
I think for me, image generation is more of creative tool.
Okay.
Yeah, it hasn't been like, because I mean, I think in my work and outside of work, I don't really have a real need for image generation yet. So I think for me it is more of like, just creative. What about you?
I do use image generation. I don't know if it is fully productive, but I read a lot of novels, specifically science fiction.
Yeah.
And as everyone, I have multiple screens around me, and I like to put wallpapers on them.
Yeah.
So with these image generation models, I've been able to generate pictures of science fiction novels I read
I see.
and use them as wallpapers.
Oh, that's very enticing.
yeah,
I'm gonna do that.
yeah, it's actually very interesting. You can pay, it will have context about most of the famous novels. For example, Dune, it has context. But Dune, since the movie came out, I have seen that it outputs people strikingly similar to the actors who were in the movie.
Yeah.
But if you pick a novel which has not been made into a movie yet,
Yeah.
it'll give you really good natural pictures.
Also, just to put it out there, as a avid reader myself, the book is always better than the movie. You can proceed.
I mean, I'll agree maybe 95% of the time, but I just don't want to discredit the movie industry altogether. But 95% of the time, the book is definitely better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one place where I use image generation quite a lot. I have been dabbling with audio generation recently because I do need to generate a lot of music as part of my productive workflows. Part of it is also for maybe this podcast or other things I do, which require music is just, inherent in every content you create, right?
Yeah.
So I have been trying to experiment with that. That experiment is yet on like very shaky grounds right now. But I am yet to see where it goes. But I'm hoping that there's another place where I can bring Gen AI into my workflows.
Oh, I see. Pretty interesting, use cases. Yeah, but going to like a larger aspect of things, right? What do you think like are the biggest use cases that Gen AI will actually solve?
I think marketing might be one. Okay, so marketing and content in general, I feel is the first one that will get targeted widely by these Gen AI models. The reason for that is because it requires nothing of a, I mean, it's unfair to call it easy processing, I guess, but text has always been the most researched when it comes to Gen AI models. The other kind of input data, images, videos are also getting there, but text is on another level. Like I think the GPT-4o model is using more than 1 trillion tokens or something, like just parameters to train itself, right?
Oh, wow.
Compared, if you want a comparison, GPT-2 was 1.2 billion, and now it's in 1 trillion.
It's in trillions.
Right? So you can see the difference there. So these are highly sophisticated models now. I think they require. I'm actually very curious to know how they're storing these. Right? Like there's so much data in there.
Exactly.
Yeah. But do you have a place where you see the most impact?
I think marketing was definitely one for me too, because without Gen AI there's so much personalized marketing. Imagine with Gen AI how much of like personalized data, how much personalized information you'll be able to like cater to, right? That is one place. The other place that I really see it helping is content writing. As a writer, you might not always have the best content to put out, but with Gen AI, if I'm able to just tell it something like my intent, like hey so and so, if I'm a journalist I just go and tell it like hey so and so happened, I need like a newsletter about it. It's just so easy for me to
and I actually had a similar experience recently. So at my workplace, they have given us a official model to work with, use in your day-to-day code and see how useful it is. So there was this internal library which was very legacy, and I had to use it in my product, and I actually asked the chatbot we had, the code bot. It is trained on our internal code already, and I just gave her the name and I tell her like write a technical documentation for this library, and it actually gave me decent content that I was able to then use it to navigate. I'll come to the disadvantages of it later, but I was able to use it to navigate it and then implement it. So that is something I've seen real life. Thought that anecdote will be helpful.
And that is something. That is something that is already happening. Like journalism and actual writers may not be the only ones benefiting from it, is what you're saying, right? That's the same in my workplace too. We've already started incorporating it, right? You have your on-calls where issues come in. We feed it all our troubleshooting guides, and then you just create a bot over it, and you're just able to ask questions to it, create new guides from it. So all that things like where writing is not necessarily part of the job, but it is still a secondary skill that's needed. that is where I think the applications will be more actually, where where you're able to just use Gen AI to assist you to do those things for you.
But so much of it depends on the kind of data that it trains on, right? Because for example, I'll give you another real life example. I hate the fact that all these like startups in India are going the route of implementing Gen AI for support, because they're just terrible. I'll say it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's actually a frustrating experience as a customer when you use these
exactly.
AI bot for support, and the reason is mostly because what they've been fed in is so generic and so not helpful. They're not able to actually help in anything.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So that is why that is why I think more and more support experiences are like frustrating, right? Like when you open a ticket, you're like, I don't want to talk to a bot. I want to talk to a person.
Yeah. See, I think this might be I'm not sure if this is the right way, but a lot of people think of AI currently to replace jobs. Yes, that might be the future, but the AI of today is a good assistant to a job, but it cannot replace as of today, right?
So I think that is why people are, one popular example is that is why people are naming their products as co-pilot, not really the pilot, because it's your co-pilot. You're still in the driver's seat. It's just there to assist you.
Yeah. I mean, I hope more AI companies actually go down that path, because some of them are naming it the other way. Like they'll just call it like, I mean, I don't have a particular example, but if you go to ChatGPT app and you look at all the GPTs that exist from third party, some of them claim really high and far-fetched, like that it'll do everything for you, just forget about everything else. So that's where I think like they're pushing it too much just for sales.
And then there's also like those third-party applications I've also seen extensions where they like humanize your AI output. I mean, I really feel that if it is like AI content, I should be able to, I don't need a human touch to it per say. It is generated by a computer, it's fine.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
So coming to the, like, one of the disadvantages that I saw, the story I told about, I used that library to generate. Let me tell you one thing that happened which was very unexpected. So I gave it the library to generate the documentation, and it gave me like, I think, around 1,000 words of documented content there. And in one of the APIs of that library, it had imagined a parameter. Like it didn't exist, but it imagined that it switched off some functionality and switched off some functionality. And it looks so natural. I added it in my IDE, and it's like, it's giving error for compilation that there is no such parameter in the API. I was like, what is happening? Like, what is this? And then I went and looked, and it had just hallucinated that parameter for some reason. So, what do you think about this hallucination in general? Do you think it's a bigger problem? Have you ever encountered it?
I mean, I think all AI models today give you like wrong answers so confidently, and then you have to chant it with it 4 times to tell it, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong. So I think that's definitely a problem. And again, it's like, since it's again like it's just like tech and it's just code in the end. So it is gonna assume what is correct based on what it is trained on. If it doesn't know that what it is trained on is wrong, or if it doesn't know its own accuracy, it's gonna spurt out wrong answers with confidence, right? So that is definitely a problem. Like, you can spit out misinformation to people and the person doesn't even realize. Right? And it could be bigger than like just adding a parameter to the API, right? Like, if you give me code and if I'm accidentally exposing, say, a credential to an API or a cert to an API, it leads to a bigger vulnerability than just like, a compilation error.
I mean, another thing where I saw this hallucination was like in Google recently introduced AI in search. So now when you search something, it shows us AI summary.
Exactly.
And I saw this thread on Reddit where someone had searched what is the best way to make cheese stick to a pizza, and the AI suggested to add glue in the pizza. And people actually dug around and they found the source to be one Reddit comment made 10 years ago, which was a sarcastic comment made.
How do you make something non-human understand sarcasm?
So again, another thing where AI really thinks that everything that it is training on is truth. But if you're feeding this thing like TVs of, not even TVs, like petabytes of data, you can't vet each line, and then you get something like this fed in and then outputted on like the final summary.
So I think one way to at least tackle this is that, but I don't even know how you can do this. Like if you can somehow say like this output is like so and so accurate, or the original source of this data is from so and so source. At least that way you can, at least a human can cross check. But if you are like just hallucinating into, hey, like put glue in the pizza and cheese will stick to it, so confidently out there, then it really belittles trust in the technology itself.
True, and if you're claiming something as a summary, it has to be 100% correct. Right?
Yeah.
It can't be like, you can't give the guarantee that, hey, it might be 95% correct.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but the percentage point aside, I really like the second one, which is basically that you put
need
the
to
source,
cite
the source, right? But again, this raises an ethical question, because a lot of content that these models are trained on is not really legally sourced, right? Like,
I mean, then that's the bigger problem to solve, and I think we've talked about this before as well, right? That's a bigger problem to solve. Then you like what you're training these models on, they're petabytes and petabytes of data. It has to be ethically, legally sourced.
Yeah,
right?
but I think that ship has sailed, like for the previous models. Maybe in the new. I think there are already so many cases going on in US. Like, I think New York Times is suing OpenAI for using their articles to train the models that they have. Reddit recently stopped their API to be free.
Exactly.
Now it paid. You have to pay to get the content. So because a lot of this was abused to train these models.
Yeah.
And if you actually look before 2020, if you see the interviews of engineers and people working on these models, they are very open about where the data is coming from. But now suddenly you cannot find where the data is coming from, because they don't want to say it. They don't want the legal trouble of saying that they sourced actual copyrighted content to train these models.
Yeah.
So I wish that could happen, that they can cite it, but it's just a bigger level problem. What do you think?
I mean, it's a bigger level problem, but then it makes me question the whole ethicality of the industry as a whole. I don't know if ethicality is a word, but I used it anyway.
Yeah. So I let me get your view on this. Okay. So as a human, I read copyrighted material and I make something and I use a reference to the copyrighted material or I modify it. It is not considered a violation of copyright, because it's under fair use policy. I'm not taking that content as is. I'm just reading it. I read 10 other sources and I put out some content that was mine, right? And in a way, you I think a lot of these companies are also claiming the same, that the AI is also doing the same. It is not really outputting it word by word. It is just summarizing it like how a human summarizes. Do you think this is valid?
I truly, honestly don't know the full answer to it, because I think this is going to be forever an ethical dilemma, right? Like if you're if I'm able to like mimic someone's voice, am I like legally liable, or just the whole data thing itself? But I think the difference between a human consuming and using that content and a business trying to like read all of this data, whatever you put out on the internet, and training their models of it does seem morally different, right? Because they're making a business out of it. They're building an they're making a business out of it. They're gonna influence decisions out of it, right? And that is different from doing it on an individual or a small business level. Rather than like making computers of like just doing it on petabytes and petabytes of data. Do you agree?
I do agree. And I feel the fundamental difference is just the amount of data it can take in and the amount of data it can spit out. Right?
Yeah.
Like it can just generate content so quickly than a human. Right? So I definitely feel that is the defining factor which will answer most of these cases. And hopefully we also see some of these conversations start in India soon, because I feel like once these conversations are settled in the US, which will be part of these litigations to end, companies will look for other ways, and I think continents like Europe or countries like India, where you have already a lot of content, might become that third party to kind of start on it. I heard Europe is already more working towards legislation there to restrict AI training. I think they've already passed a law saying that you cannot use copyrighted content to train at all. But I think India is yet to start on that path. But it will help India to start on it early and get on top of it before it escalates out of control.
I think it was the next level of like social and cyber threat that
Yeah.
kind of like engulfs us, right? So I really think countries need to act sooner about what kind of laws they need to have on proprietary data.
Yeah. And speaking on cyber threats, do you think Gen AI actually is one of the biggest cyber threats that we have today?
Yes.
Okay, tell me more.
I mean, now that we've talked about the good sides of it, like what all the things it can do, like marketing and all those things. What is stopping me from as a hacker for using a GPT model to launch a DDoS attack today on like India's government website, right? It becomes easier, right?
Yeah.
Because it has that much information, right? You can use it both ways. A is to launch cyber attacks. B is also like if I'm using GPT to, create code and run that code, who is really telling GPT that this is cyber secure? Because developers have been doing this for like 20-30 years or even more, and you still find problems in that code today that this is not secure. So if you're trained on that code, how do I believe that Gen AI is actually going to make those things secure, right? That is the second sort of thought that occurs in my mind.
I think another point there is also the dearth of information available to bad actors. Like if let's say I'm a bad actor, I'm trying to penetrate a software organization, and I hear that they are using Apache version which is 2 years old. I can use Gen AI right now to get all vulnerabilities that have been reported for Apache.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, right? Like it's just so easier to like launch a DDoS attack or just find vulnerabilities in a system.
So it can definitely assess nefarious circumstances. I know this example is more coding oriented, but I think it goes beyond that also. It's about exploiting DevOps vulnerabilities or just the system vulnerabilities, right? Like in the end, everyone running these systems are humans, and every human-based system will have human-based errors where there'll be either an on-call change that happens on Tuesday, so there's a new on-call in that company, he won't have much idea, so you can launch an attack on it. There's just so many information available now.
Just so much more, right? And to like maybe summarize it from a non-tech perspective use case, bank accounts, net banking happens online, right? If a person just knows what kind of version, what kind of servers a bank is using, it might just become easier to, just extract that information. Credit card scams might become more popular.
And banks are not really known to upgrade their operating systems. Right? So, that definitely is. But apart from cyber security, do you think it also poses a threat in other kind of crimes?
In other kind of crimes, give me an example. I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Let me give you an example that happened a few years back. Okay, and it's about Indian politics. So there was a video of a MP who was campaigning. Okay, the video was basically translated into 3 other languages using a deepfake of that politician. Okay. So that's not a nefarious use. So he said the original thing in language called Bhojpuri. Okay, and I think that kind of gives people an idea of what we're talking about, but that's fine. Okay, and it was translated into English, Hindi, and some other languages, local languages, using deepfake of the politician, so that the person watching, it looks like that the person is speaking in their language.
I see.
Right. Now, do you think this? What is your opinion of this scenario? Do you think this is an ethical use? Is a non-ethical use?
I think it borders into non-ethical because the person did not speak in that language. I think even if you're translating it, you should at least call out that this is not the original language it was spoken in. You need to give people that subtext that this is a AI generated video of the person. Of course, it makes the experience for the person watching who doesn't understand Bhojpuri, it makes it better for them that they don't have to read subtitles, right? But in the end, it is misleading. It is misinformation. So it does border into non-ethical.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one more thing here. This is how this situation being in India makes it more complicated. Even if you do brand the video as generated by AI, the target audience of these videos are remote villages in UP and Bihar. I don't think they would understand the meaning of generated by AI in the first place, even if you do add it.
Exactly.
Right? They don't understand how it works,
Yeah.
and they don't understand the effects of it.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think that is the real threat, right? Like how easy it is to spread misinformation. I was telling you before that now social media platforms like YouTube, Instagram, they have a disclaimer that if your content is generated by AI, you have to like, tick a box there that yes, I've used AI generated content in this video or whatever content I'm creating. But does it really help solve the bigger problem at hand?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just more of like I'm washing my hands off it.
It's
the next person's problem.
It's like you're just like it's for the platforms to be like, oh, if misinformation is spread through this video, it's not my fault because I told it.
I told you so. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think, and that's where the society also needs to come in and like bring other fields up to the speed as to what this is capable of, where it can, and how to question everything from a perspective that this could be AI generated.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. Okay, so the example I gave you right now before was very borderline ethical, non-ethical. Right, but let me give you a very non-ethical example that kind of infuriated me that this kind of stuff is happening. So I think this is a story from a school in US where some disgruntled employee made a fake call audio of the principal.
Oh yeah.
And speaking some really racist stuff. And kind of then maybe we'll play it also in the in the video.
Me and only me. I seriously don't understand why I have to constantly put up with these dumbasses here every day. Between these ungrateful black kids who can't test their way out of a paper bag, or these teachers who don't get it, how hard is it to get these students to meet their grade level expectations?
So that people can understand how real it sounded.
Yeah.
Right, and that kind of took me by surprise. Like the police and everything had to go to researchers to determine that it was actually AI generated, right?
Yeah.
So these kind of crimes really scare me.
Exactly. Yeah, and then there's like the bigger picture at hand. You could affect elections with it. You could affect political moves with it, right? All that is the larger threat, right? So how do you think we should solve this? I mean, we can't solve it. How do you think companies should solve it?
I think so definitely a big problem, and it's very hard to determine. But I think the first and foremost problem to decide whether you can use copyright content in the first place will limit a lot of this by default. Because if you cannot use copyright content, you cannot easily generate audios or videos of anyone, right? Until that will be a crime punishable, right? But till then, I think it is all about like the only thing we can do is educate people, right? And just question everything out there. Don't if there is a mass hysteria going on for something, take a step back, question whether this can be easily done by AI or not, because people are out there trying to do it, right?
And there I was thinking when I saw an AI image generated of Taylor Swift attending Met Gala, I was like, Taylor Swift didn't go to Met Gala. What the hell is this picture?
And I think one thing that works there is to have two-peer verification. Okay, I think in your example, you can actually go to Taylor Swift's page and see if she has posted about it. Right?
Or you can just like do a Google search.
Exactly.
You will see some fake, somebody calling it out as AI. That will be your deal breaker.
Right? So always, I think it's better to verify from two sources. I think in today's world, I would actually say it with Gen AI, how powerful it is. Never trust a one source news.
Exactly.
Right? Like question the hell out of it. If it is two sources, then you can be more sure that this might be something big. But even then, don't do the questioning out of it, right? So
everything with a grain of salt and two sources.
So,
as in engineering, we say two-factor review for everything.
And it also kind of brings me to think that no matter how many rules we make, it still becomes harder and harder because Gen AI is evolving at such a fast pace. I think a year or two back, when I was in the Stable Diffusion community, I was generating images with them. We used to have this joke that if the fingers aren't correct in the image, you can be sure that...
But now it's able to do all of that.
Now it's able to... In the latest iterations, fingers are actually getting much better.
Just
still it outputs some of the fingers, but you can actually put prompts to make fingers really decent looking. So that kind of scares me. Like 1 year back we had this identifier, now it has corrected that. So but governments and regulations has always been reactionary. But if something is evolving so fast, how do you react to it at the right time?
I don't think I mean, with other techs, I think it could have been reactionary, but I truly feel AI feels different, and it has to be more proactive than reactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be a lesson for the government also.
Because like we just discussed earlier, there are models out there which have already been trained on petabytes of data, which you kind of have no real way to assess now, right? You cannot go and vet that data anymore. So it has to be more proactive at this point rather than reactive. Like you wait for something to fail and.
Yep. And I think things are getting more murkier. I think the National Defense Act of US has been invoked on AI models, which kind of is going to drown them more in like secrecy. I think now every company that is training a new model has to inform the government of US, and that is going to have another effect. Right? Like if defense is taking an interest in it, you know it's going to become very secretive and it might just go another path, and we might see it used in spycraft, which is again another fearful thing, right? Like with all these phones and everything is now like AI incorporated. If I find out 10 years down the line that all of it was being monitored by the NSA, I'm going to be pissed.
You will just figure out there was like a FBI agent sitting in your phone all this time.
I know, right? Yeah, they don't want to monitor you from outside now. They'll be in your phone. Like, imagine one FBI agent sitting in one dark room and he's asking ChatGPT like, hey, what is happening in this phone? He's reverse, like, sending the information through a chatbot only. So, scary times ahead.
Scary times ahead.
Yeah.
It all sounds very dystopian if you put it to that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, Black Mirror episodes look a reality more and more every day, especially the ones aimed around AI.
I know, right?
And sometimes it really surprises me. OpenAI referenced the movie Her so much, and I was also curious by that, like, why did they choose that? Because it's just not a very happy movie, I think. Like, why would you want to be associated with it? But I guess they see it differently than I do.
I mean, there are like very contradictory things there. Like on one way, you kind of portray out that most of these companies did not want to put the human touch in their voice assistants and stuff. But then you're going and referring a movie that literally, the plot of the movie is that a guy falls in love with AI. Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely want that empathetic factor to come into communicating with AI.
Yeah, Westworld, Black Mirror, everything I had.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if that's the right way, but I guess they do have access to more data. But I hope that they're more ethical about it.
I hope so too. Yeah.
So tell me, now that we're speaking about the future, we spoke about the dystopian future. But do you think there is a better future also for AI?
You mean where it's all roses and
Hunky-dory?
daisies and hunky-dory?
Yeah. So where do you think, like, if it, like, the ideal future of AI is, where do you see it evolving?
In my job, I would assume it to be that it really finds its way alongside developers. I do see applications in DevOps and testing and all this on-call manual stuff that a lot of developers have to do now, right? So I think those kind of things have like a lot of potential to just save the manual effort from the developers. But I still don't know, even in 10 years time, will a Gen AI be able to like design complex architectures for me, right? Design features for me. And one thing that I especially feel very confident about is that because they're operating so much on data, I think clouds are something that are not going away anytime soon. So engineers who are like helping building that cloud, those things, they might just get a better use of AI unless it figures out how to run itself. So
I said it's a bright future, not a dystopian future.
Yeah, so that is where I find applications and where I think engineering would go. For content creation, journalism, I do think I do see it as like a little bit of a threat to their jobs because again, text is the most researched thing. But I still don't think it is able to generate like, the kind of human empathetic articles that you read.
Yeah, the unique factor about the
Yeah.
So I agree, but I also see from my perspective of it, the future is definitely what you say. Like there are jobs that are gonna be threatened in the future. Or might evolve as this becomes more evolved. But I also feel like there is a chance that Gen AI creates this new area of jobs that we have not seen. And one thing that really intrigues me is that currently all of these companies are rushing to get hands on as much data as possible. Right? And they have currently run out of data. I think they have hit this it's called the data wall, where they have consumed the whole internet, and these models need more data to improve, right? So at this point, you have two options. One option is to take the data that is generated by the AI and put it back into the AI. I think it's called synthetic data. Okay, but once you start doing that, most research has shown that it leads to offsprings of the models that are not really that better than the last one. It's like kind of like incest of models. Okay, when you feed the data back.
It's like AI having babies with AI.
Yeah, so that path is not really promising.
Yeah.
And the only other part is that you generate data and then you feed it to these models, right? So if that generate data market takes off, we might just see this new job of people just sitting and generating data so that the AI can learn. And that will be hilarious to think, because now we wanted AI to solve our problems, so now we're giving AI just the content so that we will solve our problems instead of just solving the problem.
Yeah.
So,
but I do think like the most drastic field according to me that will improve is marketing. And secondary to that, I also see healthcare.
Yeah, healthcare also I feel like it can get a good impact, because I definitely believe that biases of doctors are really hard. It's a field which is suffering from biases, but I guess those biases also save lives, so who knows, the real statistic.
And
But
the other thing is that doctors also work very long and hard shifts, especially like not doctors, maybe nurses and your other first responder staff, right? I think for them, I would expect life to be a little bit easier if you have something like Gen AI that helps you diagnose things maybe faster, maybe more in a more helpful way. Maybe that we can see how it pans out.
Yeah, I agree, and I think if that they can handle that first level of patients, it can then like go to the next one and the next one. So yeah, I agree. Fields where I think we have a shortage of people in the first place, like that.
Yeah, I just don't hope that it becomes like WebMD. I sneezed twice today. Oh, you're dying.
Yeah, you have only 2 days to live. Oh, you sneezed a third time. You only have 1 day to live. So yeah, I agree. So yeah, I think that's all about the future. Do you have any closing statements you wanna bring up, like before we end this episode?
I would say what is like something like I do know that there's a lot of information, lot of misinformation, but a lot of people are just scared, right, of AI. What are like your words to them?
I think so. This is something that I follow personally. Is that if there is something new, don't hold back from trying it. Okay, so I would suggest people who are not from tech background, who have no idea what Gen AI is, just go make an account on chatgpt.com and talk to this bot, right? Talk about anything. At least you will understand how it works, what kind of data it gives, and over time learn to recognize like patterns and see like influence your life where you can use it, right?
True.
So that's my only advice. I already give the two-point verification, right? Verify everything from 2 sources. But that's the other advice, that you should definitely try it out if you haven't yet. What about you?
I think in some similar lines, I think, you don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of like learning about it. Be open to more information, get as much information you can. And yeah, mostly you'll be able to actually see how it can help you in your daily lives.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. I think that's a good conversation. We should definitely revisit this topic again. Maybe we can go in more depth of the tech side of it and explain it. But yeah, it was a good start. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope the audience did too.
Yeah.
So cool. Thanks for joining us. Do like, share, and subscribe this video. And we'll be back after 15 days with another video. Till then, enjoy life. See ya. Bye bye.